Hello everyone and welcome to the Bearded Geeks, the weekly grab bag of topics covering movies, comics, video games and TV. I'm just like, fuck this intro, I just want to drink.
Have a sip, why not?
Why not? My name's Jags, I am the Beard Master. With me today, it's Mr. Marvel Patrick Brown himself.
Hey. G'day, mate.
How you going, buddy?
I'm pretty good, how are you?
It's fucking hot outside.
Yeah, it is surprising.
It's like real hot. I was just around at Kate's, we're in the backyard, like watering the garden, and we're getting like tomfoolery, like spraying each other with the hose.
Yeah.
And then I went to spray it with it, but it backfired, and the hose come off the shower head thing, and it just it went all over me. I was like, fuck, I'm all wet.
Oh, no.
How are you today?
Yeah, not bad. Been good. Been good. I was out in the garden myself before.
Doing some manly duties.
Yeah, well, Lyra's parents came around and they just brought hedge clippers around and stuff. I had the big, what do you call it? Yeah, the big hedge trimmer, big electric one plug in, and I was like, I was squaring off the top of the big hedge out the back. Jeez,
You're so manly.
It was a tough job. It was
You're
like,
so manly.
I had to try and reach.
Were you up on the ladder, mate? Like,
yeah,
like
so
taking
I was
the top
real
off?
high up, trying to get it, trying
Did you
to
have a hat
clean
on?
it up. Nah, didn't have any safety.
Didn't have a hat on.
No, I didn't actually. I'm probably going to get a bit sunburnt.
Wow.
But
I shaved all my hair off too, so like I'm more conscious of wearing a hat and all that
It
sort
doesn't
of
take
shit.
much to burn it.
Yeah, it doesn't, not at all.
Yeah.
Not for us bald blokes.
No.
Hey, we're doing a bit of a movie catch up today.
Yeah.
These were two movies that I kind of wanted to see at the cinema, and I'd planned to go see them, but I just never got around to it, and so I missed them. But now they're both out on home release, so we thought we'd both seen it. So, and I want to talk about one specifically.
Yeah.
So
we're talking about Creed II and Overlord today. Let's start with Creed II.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's the one I at least want to talk about, so let's get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So we talk about Overlord. Let's see, where to begin?
Yeah, I didn't really keep track of all the Rockies originally, so I wasn't either, same as you. I wasn't excited to see it, but I really liked Creed.
Yeah.
So this one was a good, yeah.
Yeah, because we went and saw the first Creed, not necessarily on a whim.
Yeah.
Like, we saw the trailers and that, we were like, damn, that looks pretty good, let's go see that.
Yeah, yeah.
And we watched it, and we were both fucking blown away. We're like, oh, I honestly think Creed is probably one of the best movies I've seen in the last 10 years. Honestly.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah,
honestly,
the first one.
Yeah, 5-star movie.
Yeah, cool.
I couldn't fault that movie.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was never a Rocky fan, but I knew of it, and I've seen enough clips to kind of gather the story, and yeah, so I knew enough going into it, and I like Sly. It was cool seeing him again.
So we had Creed. Excuse me. And now we got Creed 2, which was really, I think the turnaround on Creed 2 was like 10 months, I think, because they started filming it last January.
Yeah.
And then they had it out by Thanksgiving. I don't know when Thanksgiving is in America, but it was like a 10-month turnaround from like when filming began into the finished product.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty quick turnaround. And film that's out now. I watched it, last week? I watched it last week.
Yep.
Picked it up on 4K. Watched it. Pretty fucking good. As far as sequels go,
Yeah,
pretty
thought so.
fucking good sequel.
Yeah, I thought it was, just the perfect sequel, really, because, I still think the first one's better, but then second one is just as good. It's just a little bit, just what you wanted for a follow-up, really.
It kind of has the sequel kind of, the tropes of the it's good. It is a really good sequel, but in no way, shape, or form does it live up to the first movie.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot that went into the first movie. I'm getting ahead of myself here. But there was a lot in the first movie which all the elements came together and just made it something really special.
Yeah.
And I feel like this second one is trying to... Because Ryan Coogler didn't come back to direct, because he went to direct Black Panther. And I don't feel like... It's got like a lot of the same elements in that. Like, like the rap songs over the montages and all that sort of stuff. And like all those elements kind of from the first movie's there, but it doesn't have... I don't know, kind of that rawness of the first movie. Because the movie feels...
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Rocky movies, because the first Rocky movie, Rocky's lives in like a tiny little one-room apartment,
Yeah.
And he's kind of coming up from nothing, he's trying to, fight, and that's where he uses like the hanging meat to box and stuff so he can firm up his hands.
Yeah.
And then you get on to like later in the sequels where you know, the second one, he gets a rematch with Apollo Creed, and then the third one, he's well off and he's rich and all these things happen. It kind of feels more like a generic kind of sequel. There's not really anything kind of, not special to it, but it doesn't have that original kind of drama and rawness and that to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas this Creed 2 kind of has that, but to not that extent. You know what I mean? Like in this second one, like he's very successful, he becomes a champion. You know, he's kind of got everything. Everything's kind of fallen into place. You know, he's not kind of, he's established. You know, he's not kind of like struggling like he was in the first one. Like it just, the first one, it just as a sports film and as a boxing film and as like a drama, it's like fantastic. Like I couldn't really fault it.
One of the things I would have liked to see a bit more of in it was probably between Rocky and Drago, you know, old Drago, and I wanted to see them, that look between them a bit more. They had a little bit of a look in the ring toward the end where they kind of stare at each other. Drago's kind of looking back, and I think Rocky was holding Thingo a bit more, and it was real emotional, but I really wanted to see a bit more of the tension between them, because it would have linked a lot more between, you know, the history, especially having the actors, the original actors, and they're old now in real time. Would have been great to see a little bit more between them, and I was kind of expecting that look, you know, in the ring from the original. Was it Rocky 4 when he fights him, and I think when he killed Apollo
Creed,
and Drago's got that real cold look on his face, just dead eyes looking back at Rocky, and it's like they do that kind of weird thing where it's like he's just looking at him like he doesn't care and emotionless, and they kind of did that a little bit in this, but I wanted to see that kind of a bit more of that to kind of help tie him in a bit better.
Yeah. I kind of do and don't agree with that. Because you know, it's been like 30 odd years, you know, nearly 33, 35 years or something like that. So how much you know, he would have changed as a person from then. You know, he's not that young, stone cold kind of robotic Russian killer, you know, until he is now. Now he's kind of an older man. He's wiser. True. He's a father. You know, all this stuff's happened in like his personal life, like with his wife and everything, and that left. Full spoilers, obviously. But they did have that great scene in the restaurant where Ivan Drago comes to Rocky's restaurant, and they sit there and they have the exchange and that. They talk about like the pictures and that, and he's like, there's no pictures of me. He's like, where are the pictures of me? And he's just like, you don't get no pictures. It's just like, whatever. What did you think of, I think we should just set up the story real quick. If most people don't know, I think anyone that listens to this probably would already know. Adonis Creed, he's kind of established in that now. He's kind of number one in the world. He becomes the world champion. And then Ivan Drago and his son, Victor Drago, come to America, and they challenge Adonis to a championship match. So, you know, kind of son versus son kind of in the way, because Ivan Drago killed Apollo Creed in Rocky 4. He killed his father. So, you know, Adonis kind of feels like this is, you know, it's personal. He's like, I can't walk away from this fight. You know, I can't turn it down. And the plot, I was watching it, and the plot is almost exactly the plot for Rocky 3. Because, like, Rocky's on top, you know, he's the champion, and he's having all these fights, and he's the world champion, Rocky Balboa, you know, he's unstoppable and all this shit.
Yeah.
And then fucking Mr. T comes out of the blue, Clubber Lang, and he's like, hey, Balboa, he's like, I'll fight you, and whatever. He's just this hard guy, and Rocky's like, I can beat him. And Mick's like, you can't beat him, Rock. He's got steel, you know, you can't beat him. And then Rocky gets his ass kicked, loses the championship, and then he's got to kind of retrain, and then he fights him again at the end, and he wins. So it's almost essentially the same plot for Rocky 3, which I don't really have a problem with, because Rocky, honestly, I think Rocky 3 is probably my favorite Rocky movie. It's just because it's just so quintessentially 80s.
Yep.
It's like cheesy, and like our favorite like GIF of all time, where they doing the slow motion, they're doing the splash in the beach, and then they have the big hug like Apollo and Rocky. Yeah. That's one of our favorite GIFs. Yeah. But yeah, that's generally the story. So Victor comes in to challenge. So it's kind of, like son versus son, Drago versus, you know, Creed again. And then you've kind of got like, what did you think of Rocky's story in this one? Because I know Sylvester Stallone pretty much hung up the gloves in this one. This is the last time.
And he's cured
he's
of
ever
the cancer
played,
now, isn't he? He's
yeah. So
won that.
He's beat cancer.
Yeah.
He's won that. He's won against that. And now he's just like... I actually kind of really like the story in this because not only kind of do these movies link back to kind of the Creed story with Apollo Creed in that, but now this movie is linking back to Rocky Balboa, like the last Rocky movie where, Rocky has his son, his adult son, and, they're kind of, at odds. His son had to leave Philadelphia. He's like, do you know what it's like trying to live in Philadelphia and be Rocky Balboa's son? And then there's kind of that distance between them, and they kind of set that up in the last movie as well.
I really loved that at the end, and he's...
Oh man, I got a bit teary at the end when they went to back to his son's house.
That was also quite a raw kind of way. Like the way they filmed it and everything was really a bit more real. Like it felt good. It wasn't just rushed, and like they actually took some time to. Yeah, that was great. I really liked that, and I love the casting of his son. He just, even before any of these movies, he was Peter Petrelli in Heroes. I can't remember his name, but
Milo Ventimiglia.
Yeah. He actually does look like a young Sly.
Yeah, they even
Sylvester Stallone.
Stallone said that when they were doing Balboa, because when he yells, he's kind of got like that. He kind of yells down on an angle. His bottom lip. He's like,
he does. Yeah,
he kind of gets that kind of angled down lip or whatever, and he looks just like Balboa
that was
when he
perfect
kind of yells.
Casting for
that. I really like that moment at the end of the film, like him and Rocky and his grandson and that there. And he's like, "Who's this?" He's like, "It's your grandfather." And then Stallone's gonna cry, and then I'm crying, and then I'm like, "Oh, it's
Rocky's
so
story
raw."
was good. They did a good job in this.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought he was great in this. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How did you feel when after the first fight, like after he fought Drago and that actual the match? Where, like, he broke his ribs and stuff, he fractured his ribs and that, and then the scene afterwards where he's in the hospital and he's, like, utterly defeated.
Yeah, he was proper, like, he got...
Fucked up.
Yeah, he was.
You could say it.
He got it absolutely flogged in that. Yeah, that was good. I didn't know what to expect then. I kind of should have predicted it, I think I kind of did, but it was, seeing him get beat like that, it was pretty brutal, And, I think it needed that. It was cool. Yeah, it was good to see because he's pretty much in rock bottom now. He's lost everything, lost the title, and So he didn't actually lose the title. Sorry, did he? It was just more of a.
It was a DQ.
Because it was like a cheat match.
Yeah, he was disqualified because he knocked him down and then he punched him.
But it just proved that he was way stronger than him and he could beat him.
Yeah.
So that was the main point was I can beat you, which was really cool.
I really like Michael B. Jordan though. I could watch him do anything. I really like.
He's good.
I really like the scene after he's healed, like he's healing up and he's at the gym and the trainer comes out and he winds down the window and he's talking to him. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "How you feeling?" and that, he's like, "You've got to fight." He's like, "If you don't fight, then you're gonna, forfeit the title."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And he's like, just come in and hit the bag. Like, let's just hit the bag. He's like, yeah, I'll come in a minute. And then he kind of just drives off.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I kind of like the fear in that's kind of put in him in this movie. And not only that, because him and Tessa Thompson, Bianca, her character, because, she's got the degenerative healing loss and they're going to have a baby. And then they've got that worry.
That was an emotional scene, yeah.
If when the baby's born, because it's genetic, it's hereditary. If the baby's going to be born deaf and that as well, and then they had the scene where the baby was born and they do like the hearing test and stuff. And how did that feel to you as a parent?
Oh, that hit me hard.
All that parent stuff hits you hard after you have a baby, doesn't it?
Because I could relate to that because you do worry about health concerns because you never know what it could be. A year later and you realize your baby has
hearing
doesn't hear so well, and then they're not
like
going to talk properly and stuff. Because I've had relatives that have had that with their kids, and they picked it up only like a year and a half in when their kids are toddlers and stuff, And that really hit hard. I actually rewinded the scene again because Alira was watching with me, and I had rewinded it and made her watch it too. And because she kind of missed that scene, I put it back on for her, and we played through it, and she was like, "Yeah, that's hard."
Scary.
Stuff. It was a pretty scary scene, but that is definitely an emotional scene,
What do you think of the look of the film? Did you feel like it looked similar enough to the first film? Like, I don't know this guy who directed it. I think it's Steve Cappell. I've never really heard of this guy before. Stallone was originally gonna direct it, and I was like, oh, no. I was like, I love Creed, and I kind of don't. I think Stallone would do a capable job, but it would kind of just feel more like generic kind of film, like a sports film.
Yep.
And I kind of didn't want that because Stallone directed Rocky 3 and 4.
Oh, okay.
And they do feel like kind of, well, not generic, but they just feel kind of like basic 80s kind of, action sports film or whatever, There's a little bit of depth in that there, but, I feel like in the hands of a more, like, capable director or a director who has more experience in that.
Yeah.
So I was kind of relieved a little bit when Stallone was like, he's like, I need to distance myself from this. I'm not going to direct it after all. We're going to get, Stephen Cappell or whatever his name is, Stephen Cappell Jr. I think is coming in to direct, and I was like, okay, but I don't know. I haven't really seen anything this guy's done before, but I kind of felt like he was just. It was more kind of just mimicking the first film. So, like, a lot of the shots and the look, even though the look wasn't completely... Like I said, it didn't have that grittiness or that rawness that, like, the first film did.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was pretty capably done. But, yeah, it's just, like, all the kind of... the choices, like, all the rap songs and that, I felt like that was something particularly kind of Ryan Coogler. And injecting that into this again, it kind of felt... a little too samey kind of knockoff. I think that's just me though.
Oh yeah,
because I just love that first movie so much.
Yeah.
What did you think of the training scene where they're out in like the desert and shit?
Yeah,
and he's like running and he's got like the. I actually really liked that.
I like that.
I like that as a change of pace because I liked how they got, kind of out of the city to train and that as well.
And he's like, in Rocky, welcome to hell, he goes. And it was like real brutal kind of.
Yeah, and in Rocky 4, like they had to go to Russia as well. Like when he had Drago fought Creed in America, but then when Rocky and Drago were going to fight, he had to go to Russia. And they just give him like a cabin, like out in the boonies. And like he just trained like out in the bush, like with nothing and that, like carrying fucking logs and shit through the snow and running up a mountain literally while these Russian guys are like following him around and like watching him in a car and shit.
Yeah.
But it felt very, very Rocky 4 in that.
Yeah,
as
it was
well.
done well.
Yeah, I really liked that that montage scene and stuff.
Yeah.
He won in the end. Spoilers.
Yep. Yeah.
What did you think of the end? Ending. I thought it was too.
It was definitely it wasn't so rushed. It was just very. I like how they kind of cut through the rounds in the end to kind of show you the best parts and stuff. But yeah, ultimately it was really good. They were both real worn and tired at the end. It was like a real fight where none of them were going to give up. So it was just really good like that. And I really liked seeing the shock on the Drago son's face. He was kind of like, holy crap, I could lose this, And
because he dominated him so much in that first match.
Yeah, he was too confident, and now he was like, "Oh right, I've really got to make sure I don't lose here." That was really cool.
Michael B. Jordan was just fucking bringing it to him in that last fight. Like I actually really enjoyed the last fight.
Yeah, it was great.
I picked the end in that as well. I was like, because in Rocky 4, Rocky doesn't throw the towel in when Apollo's getting, pummeled. Because Apollo makes him promise. He's like, don't throw in the towel. Don't end the match. He's like, let me. And that's what leads to his death. And I was watching the end, and I was like, they kind of had the shots of like Dolph Lundgren and stuff.
Oh,
and
that's right.
Brigitte Nielsen, she was back. She was back in this one.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks over and she's gone, and then it gets to the point I was like, come on, Drago, you've got to do it. And he throws in the towel and saves his son, and it's kind of like a reconnecting moment for them as well, because he's very hard on his son through the whole movie. He's like, she left us, Russia turned their back on us or whatever, they think nothing of us now, we lost everything. And he kind of really pushes his son, but then at the end, you see them training, and instead of him following behind in the car or whatever, kind of pushing him, they're kind of jogging side by side together. And I was like, that's a good like father-son kind of moment, that as well. And I like how they ended. It was kind of like a good full circle from like Rocky 4 to Creed 2.
Worked out really well.
How good does Michael B. Jordan look, though? Like, he is, like, just normally, like, in really good shape. But, like, in the first film and this one as well, like, he legit looks like a boxer. Like, he's so fit.
He's got, like, that superhero body, and he's, like, it's almost not of this world, you would say. It was almost, like, out of proportion.
Like, God,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get like that.
Legitimately looks the part. Like, he looks fantastic.
Yeah,
he really does. He really does. It's like that too in Rocky, because through the Rocky films, Stallone like fluctuates in that as well. Like, his look, like in the first one, he's kind of more, he's kind of more like just a thick fighter. He doesn't really have like a lot of definition and stuff.
Yeah.
Same in Rocky 2. He's very thick. He looks like a brick shithouse, but, he doesn't have too much definition, but he's in good nick. But then you get to Rocky 3, and he's absolutely, like, shredded and fucking toned, and there's muscles on muscles, and...
One thing I was thinking of is, I'm not really sure how real boxing goes, but don't both the fighters have to be almost the same weight? Is that right? They're, like, supposed to be the same weight?
Yeah, like the same weight classes and stuff.
Because when I was seeing them two in the film, obviously Drago is much taller, and he's even more built too. So, and I was thinking, wow, he must weigh at least another friggin' 20 kilo on top of him or something. I was like, because...
I think they just get around that because in the movie they just explain it's probably just like an exhibition match or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was just thinking there's no way they weigh the same.
I really like this movie. It was a really good sequel. I don't think it's as good as the first film. I think the first film is perfect and faultless, and if you haven't seen Creed, go out and watch it because it's a fucking fantastic movie.
Yeah, I'm glad they did a good job of this. At least they didn't do a glass.
Oh, he's still feeling dirty about glass.
I was worried they were going to do a glass on it.
They were going to glass it.
They were going to glass it.
Would you recommend Creed 2?
Yes, I would.
I would too. What would you give it out of 5?
I would give it a 4 out of 4, 4.5 out of 5 even.
4.5. Yeah. I'd probably give it a 3.5, teetering on a 4. Probably 3.5. I feel comfortable with 3.5.
Yeah, I was happy with it overall. It was just an enjoyable movie, good to watch, and
I really enjoyed it. It was great to see those characters back.
Yeah,
and it was really capably made. It was a great story, and it was great to see like returning characters from like the Rocky franchise and stuff. And it's great seeing Dolph Lundgren kind of on the big screen and that again. Like we had him in Aquaman, and now we've had him in Creed 2, and he's like, he's not doing like straight to DVD shit anymore, or just like faded into obscurity. Like he's starting to get more kind of mainstream roles and that as well.
Yeah, it's great.
Which is great. I really like Dolph Lundgren. Even though he doesn't need to act, because he's like a fucking chemical engineer in real life.
Is he really?
Yeah, like he got... Like, there's a scene in... it's a quick tangent. There's a scene in The Expendables 2, when they're trapped in the cave.
Yeah.
And then he comes up and he's like, oh, this is made out of blah, 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 phosphorus, whatever, and that if we do this, we can make a bomb and blow this up. And he's talking like, because he's legit like a chemical engineer in real life. Like... before he became an actor, he went and got, like, degrees and all that, and he's, like, a legit chemical engineer.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
There you go. You didn't know that, did you?
Fun fact.
So, watching The Expendables 2 again, that'll all make sense when Stallone goes, he's like a chemical engineer or whatever. He actually is in real life, Let's talk about Overlord.
Yes.
I watched, I really wanted to go to the cinema and see this. I wish I fucking did. Because I kept saying to you for weeks, like, I'm going to go see Overlord. Oh, yeah, what's that? You going? And I'm like, I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it today. Nah, I'll put it off. I'll go tomorrow. Nah, I'll go next week. And then I'm like, I'm definitely going to go today. I didn't go. And then I planned to go the next day. And it was done. I was like, damn it. I should have just went and seen it. You watched this, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, a few weeks ago now.
I watched it a couple of nights ago.
I didn't know anything of it either, which I loved going into it like that. I think I saw the trailer once, like a year ago or whenever, but whenever it was released. But yeah, that's it. And I didn't really know much about it. So
see, we talked about this previous because originally there was talk that this film was going to be in the Cloverfield universe.
Oh, okay.
So it was going to be a Cloverfield film.
Yep.
And I think after Paradox, maybe it didn't end up being that, or maybe it wasn't going to be at all.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad that it didn't. Overlord is like a World War II film, which is a horror film as well, which I really like. I kind of really enjoy the man, that side has gone through me. I really enjoy like the kind of the subgenre of kind of World War II horror, because it's like such a niche kind of genre. You don't really see a lot. Like we've seen World War II set horror films kind of over the years, or current day, like Dead Snow, for example, where they like Nazi zombies come back from the grave. Like it's kind of like modern day, but we never really see too many kind of wartime
budget ones.
Yeah, or kind of just wartime horror films in general.
So
I really like appreciated this one, and it was produced by J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot, so there's a bit of money in that behind it. You know, there's about $40 million budget.
Yep.
It's about, I think it's D-Day, or it's the day before D-Day. The army paratroopers are flying over into France, and they've got a mission. So the Nazis have set up like a radio jamming tower in this small village in France. And if the tower stays where it is, when D-Day happens, when they kind of storm the beaches and stuff or whatever, they're not going to have air support. So these guys in the film, their mission is to parachute into France, make their way to this village, take out this jamming tower before the next morning, before they kind of storm the beaches and stuff. So that's kind of their mission. What did you think of the first, like, 10 minutes of this film? Because the first 10 minutes is, like, all set on the plane, like on the cargo plane, and that, like all the soldiers they're flying
and all
in,
hell breaks loose.
And all hell does eventually break loose. I actually quite liked it because there was a good 5 or 6, 7 minutes there of introduction. Like we got introduced to a lot of the characters and that, like Tippets and the main character Boyce, and you kind of really got a feel for the characters. I was thinking about this last night. I was like, what are these points I want to bring up when we talk about Overlord? I definitely want to bring this up because this doesn't look like... Because you say that thing to me, and now it's something that I always notice, and that... like, you watch a movie and, you know, like we're talking about the Sarah Connor Chronicles the other week, and you're like, John Connor, and you're like, he's just... Like, you look at him... You look at Edward Furlong, and he kind of just looks like a normal kid. And then you look at this John Connor in this TV series, he's like the beautiful, like, LA, like, young kid... You know, they're beautiful and all this shit. You're like, they're too beautiful to be in the show. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, they don't look like a normal person, like, in this situation.
They just got the role because of their looks kind of thing. It's not
it kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
Takes out of real life, yeah.
That was one point I really wanted to bring up about this film. Kind of like everybody in this film, because they're all pretty much kind of unknown. They all just look like regular people.
And they're just average-looking people, yeah.
They're just average-looking people. And it really goes to the fact, because Boyce has this one... scene of dialogue in the movie where he brings up, he's like, 3 months ago, he's like, I was out my front lawn cutting my grass.
Yeah. And
then the mailman came with this letter from the army, and he's like, now I'm here. And then you're like, because they talk about previous, like, where he went through boot camp and stuff, and like, you only just made it through boot camp, you know, so he's not like the best soldier or whatever. Yeah. You know, he's not most adept. You know, just little shit like that that really kind of stacks up and adds to the effect that it's more believable that, you know, like, if it was you or me, if we were just out the back, you know, and we got a letter, we got drafted, and 3 months from now, you know, we're parachuting into France, you know, like, we're not that guy, you know, we're not those guys, we're kind of way out of our element, we're not soldiers, we've been drafted, we've had 3 months of training, and here we are. You know, I really appreciated that, and I found it good. really believable and stuff.
But it added to the shock too, didn't it? Like, made them the impact, you know.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Really
brought it alive because you feel like they're actually terrified and they're like just normal people thrown in this situation.
Especially the character, most of all the Rosenfeld, like his mate, who he later saves in the movie. You know, he pulls like the tube and that out of him. Like he just looks like a regular guy who's not meant to be there. He's like way out of his element.
He's like an IT guy or something.
It's like an IT guy. But the story is, like, these guys are going to paratroop in, they get shot down, the plane's going down, everybody dives out, like, all their squad, and that's all split up, and they kind of, the few of them that are surviving, they kind of find each other, like, on their way through France, and there's only about 4 or 5 of them, there's like a ragtag group, and they make it to this village, and they're like, right, we've got like 12 hours, we have to find that tower, we have to destroy it, you know, we've got the explosives, they got the, kind of the hard-ass,
Yeah, that one tough dude.
Corporal Ford, who's actually Wyatt Russell, who's Kurt Russell's son.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's kind of like the explosive expert.
I can see that now in him.
Yeah.
You've just said that. I can see it in him.
Yeah, Kurt Russell's kid.
Yeah, I can picture it.
So he's kind of like the hard ass. He's kind of like the lead. He kind of like takes charge and that. And he's kind of like, we've got to complete our mission. But they get to this town, and the Nazis are occupying this town, and they find out that the Nazis have been taking the village people and stuff, and they've been taking them into the church where they've got this lab and that set up, and they've been conducting experiments on these people in this town, and shit kind of goes a bit sideways from there. What did you think of kind of like the first hour? Like, because I felt like...
I found it really entertaining.
I felt like it really kind of built up to it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, we got half hour in, and then they got to the church and they went to the lab, and then all the horror movie shit started. I felt like it really built up to it really well. It felt more like a war film. It definitely felt like a war film.
Because they didn't start with any horror much at all. It was good like that. It was like a half and half movie. Where
it's kind of like a little bit of a genre change in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was fine. And they did ease into the horror stuff. Like you first see like a severed head by itself talking and stuff with the woman
like
screaming.
A spinal cord and that hang out and it's like, help me.
Yeah, it was weird.
Like, that's fucked.
That was weird, and other creepy things as well, and especially when he looked through the peephole and stuff. Did that person morph or change or something like that? Because he looked in at one stage, there was just a normal person panicking, and then they do something when he looks away. He looks back in, and then it's like freakish.
Yeah,
like
he kind of like comes up to the peephole and shit. And
looks like a zombie or
jump
something.
Scare.
Yeah, which was really cool. There's a lot that I still don't understand how... what do they do? What are these things? But yeah,
let me explain it to you.
Yeah,
because there's a SS officer. He's kind of in charge of it all. It's played by, I don't actually know his name because his surname's hard to pronounce. But
he's a guy from Game of Thrones.
He is from Game of Thrones. He's bloody Theon Greyjoy's uncle or whatever. Yeah. Who's taken over the Iron Islands and stuff. He wants to marry Cersei and that. He's in this movie. He plays the SS officer who's in charge. But to kind of cut it short, like the first hour, kind of 45 minutes, is kind of a basic war movie. You get to this town, and it's kind of like this little mystery, like all these people are being abducted, and they're taking them, and this mad German scientist is doing like experiments and shit on them, and like bringing them back. And one of the village people they meet, this young lady, her aunt was taken by the Germans, and then they brought her back, and you can hear her at the other end of the hall. She's like coughing, and like it sounds real gross and like real like guttural and shit. You're like, that doesn't sound like a normal cough. Something's going on there. And eventually he goes down and he looks into the room, and she pops out, and she's like all grotesque. She's got like all these growths and shit and that all over, and it's fucking disgusting, but awesome. And we actually find out because Boyce, through one way or another, he accidentally kind of ends up in the church, and he makes his way down into the lab. And this is when shit gets real interesting. Like, he goes through the lab and he finds like real like creepy fucking horror movie shit. Like people hanging like in like cocoon kind of sacks, like from the ceiling. Yeah. And he kind of unzips one, and all this bloody brown goo and shit and that. All this brown goo and horrible fucking shit, and that comes out of it. It's fucking gross.
Yeah.
What did you think of the production design, like the look of this movie? Like, I thought, like...
Yeah, it was great.
It looked really good. Some of the CG was a little bit hokey, like, especially in the beginning, like, when they have, like, the door of the plane and that open, you got, like, the green screen and all that. You're like, that's not bloody real.
You could tell, yeah, it was very full on.
Yeah, it's just like a canopy, like, on the set, and they're just like, shake it now, you're being shot at, you know?
Yeah.
I thought, like, all the lab stuff and that, like, all the stuff in the village, like, the movie on the whole looked fucking mint. I thought it looked mint.
Yeah.
I really appreciate, like, the look.
It was
grimy and gritty and gross and wet and slimy and, fucking great.
It was great. I really got that feeling of they're just not holding back, you know, especially when, I don't know if we're going full spoilers.
Yeah, full spoilers. Fuck.
Yeah, like, you know, toward the end, and the main dude, what he got half his... No, it was when he got shot in the face, and he's like, half his face is blown off. And I was like, that's great. Like, you don't see that much in movies. Usually if they get shot in the head, they'll just have like a little nick or half this, you know, a bit of a scar up the side of their face. But this time he's like, they're like blown.
It's like blown the side of his face out. Yeah,
and you can see his
it's on the
teeth
posters and that everywhere. It's like the still.
It?
You see it like everywhere. It's like the grinning guy's got like half his cheek blown out.
Okay.
If you know anything about Overlord and you've seen it, like you've seen that still.
It was great, and just seeing him in action, and like when he's just I got to one thing I was going to mention was a cool. I think one of the reasons I really liked this movie as well, in the way it was filmed or the kind of the feel that you get out of it, kind of reminded me of like Pan's Labyrinth. The just more of the scenes are, they really kind of set the mood, especially when the dude comes in, the captain, what is he, the guy from Game of Thrones.
The SS officer.
Comes into the house and it's like real, intimidating. She's hidden the guys upstairs and she's, all that setup and all that. Things like that just all reminded me of, how well, Pan's Labyrinth did that, just all those kind of feelings of how threatening the officer is, and he's like real, going around. And I just got that kind of feeling through the movie, and it was really good. The tension, there was a lot of tension. That's what I was trying to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
It was great. A lot of building moments, like the boy, he's in the attic and was it the boy? I can't remember. And he was...
They make a noise upstairs and the soldiers go to look.
Guys
it's the kid playing with the ball or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great. And he spits on the ball and throws it back to him. I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah, bastard. Bloody Nazis.
Just things like that. I was like, that's great. Like, it was... Yeah, really, the tension that's really puts you on the edge of your seat. I love that kind of stuff.
There's a couple more things I want to get to, like my favorite line in the movie, and like getting to what's actually going on, like in the labs, like what they're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
I really liked how the kind of mystery was there. Like they didn't get to the lab, and then here's everything that's happening. Everything at once. You're kind of like drip fed all this stuff. Like he like you see what's going on in the lab, and you have no idea like what they're trying to accomplish.
And you want to know more.
Yeah. And then like he finds the vial of like the serum, and just looks like a blood, and you're like, what's that? Like, what are they actually doing with it?
20 minutes wondering what it's going to do.
Yeah, I really liked that mystery. I like trying to work it out. I'm like, what is this? Is it like a reanimator? Is it like a reagent? Does it bring people back from the dead?
Yeah.
Is it like some kind of toxin
and
or whatever?
You're also wondering like, who's it going to go in? Because it's going to end up
like
somewhere.
he's got it. You're like, someone's going to get poked with that.
Shit, that's going to, is it in his pocket? Is he going to fall on it and it's going to
it's going to stab him and he's going to inject it with this serum or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know how that was going to play out.
So eventually Boyce escapes from the lab, and he saves his mate. He's been hooked up. He's got this tube and that inserted in him. It's fucking sewn to his flesh.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out, and you see all the fucking cord and shit, like twing, 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 as he's pulling it out. And he saves his mate, and they get back to the house, and they ask this guy, they're like, what the fuck is this shit? What do you got going on down there? He's like, the doctor is... No. He's like, bullshit. He's like, you know what the fuck's going on. They pretty much torture this guy. And they're like, what the fuck's going on? And my favorite line in the movie is like, 1,000-year Reich, the Fuhrer wants 1,000-year Reich, so we need 1,000-year soldiers. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. So what they're actually trying to accomplish is the Nazis are trying to create like super soldiers, essentially. So think of like the horror movie bastardized version of Captain America. So what they've actually found is they've found that under France there's like this black tar. And it's only kind of found in France, and they found it's kind of like under the ground and stuff. And they've been kind of mining this tar, and the tar on its own, it has properties and stuff, but it doesn't actually do anything. So the doctor kind of explains that it needs to kind of like they inject or they feed this tar into people. And it kind of like, it needs to go through like a body and be refined, like the tar itself. So they pump this shit into like human test subjects, and it goes through their bodies, and it keeps them alive or brings them back to life or fucking mutates them in horrible ways. And then I'm not actually sure because they don't really explain it or show it very well. It just looks like, I don't know if they just take their blood, like after the tar's been through their body and it alters their blood, or it's actually something that just kind of like, instead of sweating, they sweat this stuff, just for example. Yeah. They somehow they get this fluid out of them, but it's red, so we'll just say it's their blood.
Yeah.
And then they've kind of got like this serum. It's not fully refined in that yet, but there's this great fucking scene, it's like at the end of the second act, where the German officer kills Chase, one of the American soldiers.
Yeah.
And then Boyce has got the serum, and he's
great.
just like, fuck it. And he just injects him with it, and he's dead. And then all of a sudden he comes back to life.
And it was like fine and perfect, wasn't it? He was like just normal.
Yeah,
for a
like,
little bit. He's like, what happened?
Because they played like a scene out of like Saving Private Ryan. Like he's been shot and they're trying to like save him and that, and they realize he's like, don't. He's like, is it bad? He's like, don't let me die. Don't let me. It's like a proper like horror movie,
proper death.
like war movie, like death scene, like
Yeah.
somebody shot, you know. And then like he stabs him with this fucking serum, and he comes back to life and he stands up and they're like, what the fuck? They're like, you know, Chase, are you okay? He's like, yeah. He's like, I feel fine. He's kind of like poking the bullet hole and stuff. He's like, is it really hot in here? And he's peeling his clothes off and he's like, I'm so thirsty. And he's like drinking all this shit. And then he's like, he fucking smashes this beam, like puts his fist right through it or whatever.
He's got strength, super strength.
And then like he's kind of like doubled over, kind of like, and then he throws his head back and his whole neck... his whole neck breaks, and it's like an accordion, and it's like hanging down his back, so he's nearly looking at his arsehole.
Yeah.
And you see like his collarbones like sticking out, like not pierced through the skin, but you see like his collarbones like pointing up, like and like pressuring on his skin, and he kind of goes nuts, and then they just gun him down, and then later on in the movie,
it's hard to kill him too, isn't it? He was almost like really hard to take
down.
Essentially
like a super soldier. They fill him full of fucking lead and shit, and then he gets back up, and they've got I can't remember what happens, but they end up killing him. And then at the SS officer eventually escapes, and he gets half his head blown off, and then he injects himself with he injects himself with like 4 doses of the serum, and that's where you see him like with his cheek and that blown out, and he kind of heals a little bit, and he's kind of the super soldier in that. And Boyce wants to destroy the lab and the tower as well, but Ford, he just wants to blow up the tower. He's like, that's not our mission. He's like, we gotta fucking blow all this up or we're fucked. And so they, you know, they're like, essentially it's a suicide mission. And then you've got like these 4 or 5 guys, and they're trying to like make themselves look like there's a whole like there's only 2 of you. You've got to distract these guys and draw out the guards, but you've got to make it look like there's a whole regiment of you. So they use explosives and they're firing at like different angles and stuff to make it look like there's more guys and to lure all the guys in that out of the base. And then eventually at the end, there's a big like fisticuffs at the end because Ford ends up injecting himself with the serum and that as well because fucking old mate hangs him up on a hook like Texas Chainsaw style, and he's like fucked, he's dying. And it was that last battle, like it felt like a boss fight in a game, you know, and that's what I loved about it. Because I find, you know, I've played a lot of video games, and a lot of those, like, there are a lot of video games that do it well at the end, and it's just like a build up to it, and then they have this massive kind of fight that's real hefty, and it felt like that, and it was great to see it come across in cinema and done well too. And like, because there's not many movies out there that actually do that that I can think of, you know. And it was just great, and it was like real heavy hitting fight and brutal and, you know, horrifying at the same time because it's horror. And I really love that. I appreciated that a lot. And then like he's bringing out more guys who are like super soldier beefed up and that as well. And they eventually end up blowing up the lab and stuff. And Boyce gets away, and Boyce Tippett and what's the other guy's name, Rosenfeld. They all end up surviving, and they kind of have the good, kind of happy kind of ending of the movie, kind of. I really like this movie. It's like a B movie script, but it's like taken really seriously.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like it's not, you know, it's not very tongue in cheek or very campy. You know, like it's essentially like the first 45 minutes is a war movie, and then it starts to become a horror film.
Because like if you think of the entire plot, and if someone just told you all about it, it sounds real ridiculous and over the top. But in the movie they do it so well that it's taken so serious as well.
They play the whole story 100% serious.
It's serious, and it comes across well. Like it's like, yes, it's finally there's this movie like this. It's actually a big budget. It's done well. It like looks great, and pulled it off big time. That was great.
They really convey that seriousness and the tension and all that very well. Like you can tell, like it didn't have the biggest budget here and there. There's not as many soldiers, or there's not as many, you know,
it's
explosions
quality,
or stuff.
I would say more, quality movie.
I really liked the setup. I really liked kind of the war stuff at the beginning. I really liked kind of the mystery. Boyce gets in, he sees all the shit. You're like, what the fuck's going on? He finds his serum, he comes out. You're kind of just, as a good story should, you kind of mystery, you're piecing it together as you go. You don't get to, he's hiding in the back of the lab, and then someone walks in and explains everything that's happening, and then you find out. You know, like, oh, that's it. All the mystery's gone.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I liked the look of the film. What else did I like? I liked it all. I really liked this movie.
You even had, like, with, was it Ford and the main guy? The difference in personalities. Like, Ford, who's the other soldier, he's very, I don't know.
He's the most
strict and hard. Yeah, he's like, nah, just leave him. You know, they're not going to make it out anyway. Like the boy, when they go to save the boy, he's like, nah, just leave him. He's a goner anyway.
He's the most well-trained soldier out of all of them, because he has a rank, he's a corporal.
Yeah.
He's kind of seen action and stuff. So he knows what it's like out there, where all these other guys are in this movie. They've all essentially just come from boot camp.
Yeah.
You know, so they've never seen any of this. He knows what happens in that, you know.
Yeah.
Boyce, I really like Boyce in this. He's very, what's the actor's name?
Is he the main guy? Main star?
What is it? Jonah? Or is it Jovan? Jovan Adepo? Or Adepo? I'm probably butcherizing his name.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. Very,
which one's he?
The main character, Boyce.
Yeah. And he
played it very human.
It was he had a lot of heart, that's how I said.
Yeah.
Because he was like, no, we're going to save this boy. We're going to save your little brother, was it? The girl's little brother? Or
Yeah, then Ford's just like, fuck him, he's not the mission.
Yeah.
He's like, we've got to blow up this tower.
They saved him, and he was like strapped up to a chair and stuff, and they just saved him, and that felt good, you know, like he's actually got a heart, and he did something good there, and yeah. It was just good seeing the difference in personalities, and yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought it was a great B movie that in places looked like an A movie.
Yeah.
It was very serious. I really like horror films, or films where it's like a tiny group of people that are in, like, there's this bigger story happening around them, like World War II, D-Day, and all this, like, all across France and whatever. There's this bigger, larger story happening around them. But in this tiny little town, there's this one little story where these 4 or 5 guys are kind of in over their heads. They're kind of like, there's no help, they're on their own. I really like those stories.
Yeah.
This movie kind of reminds me of like Dog Soldiers, where it's like 5 guys in like the Scottish Highlands or whatever. They go on a training mission and they run across fucking werewolves, and then they find this like country home and they hide in that and they hole up in it, and there are all these werewolves and that running around. I mean, like this small kind of like pinprick kind of like through the curtain teardrop kind of a story, you know, in a bucket, where it's this tiny little story, you know, and no one else knows what's going on, you know. They're in over their head, they're on their own, and like no one else is ever gonna know. I really like stories like that. It's kind of like them against the world, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if we don't accomplish our mission here, the ripple effect is gonna ripple across the world, and no one else is, you know, we're gonna lose. We're not gonna be able to deal with it. I really like horror movie stories like that.
Yeah.
And just stories like that in general. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Loved it.
Nailed it.
I don't want a sequel, but I want to see more, kind of.
Yeah. I would like to see them come up with evolving that horrific side in the lab, like evolve that more into whatever, you know, explain it more. There's a lot of stuff I'd love to, you know, kind of like how they did in the Alien universe and stuff. They kind of, you got these xenomorphs, and then they did aliens, and then they just expanded on it, and then you know more, and it's actually better. There's like a much more structured kind of whatever it is they do in that lab, and they create some kind of freakish thing or human things. Because
at the end of the movie, like, Ford could get away, but he locks the door when Boyce goes through. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, open the door. He's like, we have to stop them here. He's like, they can't have it. He's like, our side can't have it either. So he's like talking about like the Allies and stuff, like the Americans and that. He's like, our side can't have it either. He's like, it all has to be buried here. No one can know about any of this. And so he sacrifices himself. And then there's the line at the end where Boyce is debriefing to the captain or the colonel or whatever, and the captain's like, oh, they said there were some rumors down there about a lab. He's like, is there anything, do we need to go digging through there, and is there anything down there we should know about?
He was an Australian guy too.
And he's like, nah, sir. He's like, there was nothing. He's like, good. That's what I thought. And you're like, oh, you know, they could have the Yanks or someone digs down there. And yeah. I'd be up for a sequel. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd love it. If it was done right.
I don't think this made enough money, though. Like, it was like a $38 million budget, but only made like $42 odd million worldwide.
I did it.
Like, it made its money back.
Yeah.
But I should have went and seen it. Give him more money. Did you feel like there was enough kind of zombie super soldier horror stuff toward the end? Or would you like that to have been filtered in a little bit earlier?
I think so, but I think it was just about right because it still left a bit of mystery, but I would have liked to see a bit more of...
like guys going up against like full tilt super soldier crazy zombies or whatever?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe if it was just one or two of the other ones that were kind of climbing up the lab trying to get out.
Just a scene of that, of like the regular guys, you know, they're trying to like, what the fuck?
It's like, what are they? You know, I want to see a bit more of them.
But it really was Boyce's story.
Because the guy, the villain, I would call him the villain, but that guy who had half his face blown off and he had the serum and stuff, he was still kind of very human as well. He knew who he was. He could talk, you know, he still had all his memory and stuff. Yeah. So he wasn't full-blown zombie like the others or whatever they are.
Because the German scientist, he's kind of testing everyone, like, in all different cases, like, severed head, like, while they're alive. Because I think there's a line where he says, he's like, we've never actually tested it on anyone living. Because they've only tested it on corpses. Because they're collecting, like, corpses. They've got, like, a truck full of corpses, and they bring them out, and they do all the experiments.
I suppose there was one time we got to see a good example of them, was when the chick was trying to get away from one of them and it was chasing her up the hallway and she fell down and pretty much nearly killed her, but she got away.
Yeah.
That was because, you know, that was a good example.
That was pretty good. I really love the physicality of that guy, that actor who played like that, you know, kind of where he's throwing his head around and it's all in the shoulders and stuff. And yeah, I really like that.
It was weird, wasn't it?
I dug it. Patrick Brown, would you recommend Overlord?
I would.
I would too. Resounding yes, absolutely. Yep. This is probably one of my favorite movies I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
it's too. Kind of like it's not just a guilty pleasure. Like I can imagine people watching this and absolutely fucking hating it, but I really liked this movie. This is one of the better movies I've enjoyed in a long time. Like just sitting down and just watching a movie and go like, I really fucking enjoyed that. Compared to Creed II, where I watched it and went, that was a pretty good movie. Yeah, like it wasn't terrible. It was fine. But then like finishing Overlord, and I'm like, I really fucking enjoyed that. Yeah. I had a great fucking time.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was good. That same with me. I was just overall, it was just great, and I would recommend it to anyone. I think a lot of people would enjoy it. Just story, everything, like entertaining right through. It's like a thriller and a horror and action all in one kind of thing. It's just great, yeah. There's
lots of tension. It's a little bit unsettling in places. There's a bit of war movie aspect in that to it, kind of at the beginning. It's pretty dark. It's pretty brutal. I loved it.
Yeah.
What would you give it out of 5?
5.
5?
Yep.
Jesus.
Yep. Solid 5.
I'd give it a... Let's see. I'd give it a 4. Probably pushing 4.5. Honestly.
Yeah.
Let's say 4. Say a 4. I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 5, definitely.
5, fuck. It's faultless. It's better than Into the Spider-Verse. He said it.
Nah, totally different kind of movies. But this one, as whatever this genre of movie is, it's like one of the top best ones I've ever seen. So if I ever had a bunch of horror movies lined up and all that, this would be one of the top ones I'd recommend to anyone.
Yep. It's really fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's fun, gross.
Entertaining. Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
Unsettling.
Really
tense. Good. Yeah, really dug it. 4 out of 5 from me.
Yep. No worries.
That was a good catch-up. Creed II and Overlord, 2 movies we were too slack to go see, but we waited for the home release. We don't do too many home release kind of chats or anything. It's always kind of cinema trips and that we do.
There's a few that slip through the gaps for me.
Yeah. There's a lot of shows I'm planning in the future and that for us to do as well. Obviously, we're doing an Endgame show coming up in the next probably 6, 7, 8 weeks or whenever the fuck that movie comes out. But later, let's see, what is it, in May? I'll tell everyone now. May is the 40th anniversary of Alien. 40 years ago, that would have been released in May. So we're going to do a Alien 40th anniversary retrospective episode where we're just going to sit down and we're going to talk about Alien. I don't know who's going to be involved in that. It's like 2 months off. But that's one episode that I'm really looking forward to to talk about down the road.
Yeah.
On our way to 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in, mate.
Yeah, no worries.
Shooting shit about all these bloody good movies and that we watched.
It's always good, mate.
You're good.
You're very good.
You're good. I model my hair after you.
Suits you, mate. I like it.
My hairstyle, yeah.
You're rocking it.
It's alright.
That's good.
It's just low maintenance. It's fucking easy. You just shave it off. You don't even have to worry about it.
Yep.
It's one less thing you got to worry about.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in, mate.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the Bearded Geeks.
Hey.
He loves it. He loves it.